I am very curious to know what happened here.
But the fact that it came and did this, it just took everything out.
A lot of devastation just from one tree.
For as beautiful as the trees are here in the background, trees are simply not a sympathetic material in cemeteries. We're even using this here in the tripod to repair this headstone. But trees in cemeteries cause damage. They always do. The trees will eventually fall down, branches will fall, roots will heave the stones out of place and cause damage. I don't know at what point in time this tree fell. It seems to be about 20 years ago, according to the records, but I can't say for sure, and I don't know what species it was, but it was massive. And there's an entire section of headstones that have been knocked over and displaced from this tree. Katie's with me on this project again, and she has the account, A Grave Attraction, where she talks about cemeteries, cemetery symbolism, and other interesting stories. Our first order of business, as always, is cleaning. Katie's helping lower the stone here so we can get access to the bottom that's been sitting right in the dirt this entire time. We need to clean its surface aggressively. We need to lift this upper base up and clean out any old repair materials. Without cleaning, we just simply won't have a solid bond in the future, and the repair won't last. This is the headstone of Annie Edgar, born Annie McKenna, and it's standing next to her husband, Matthew Edgar. This project takes place in historic Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, New York. Annie was born Annie McKenna in London, England in 1830. At the age of 16, she moved with her family to the United States, eventually marrying Matthew Edgar and living in Michigan, where they had their first daughter, Annie J. Edgar, named after herself as well as her mother. By 1865, the family moved to Rochester, New York, where Matthew was a cutter at a tailor's shop, and her sister Margaret was living with them as well. By 1880, Annie was a widow, her sister living with her, and her sister's mother-in-law joined the household as well. By 1890, Annie moved with her daughter, who was now married to Frederick Lucas, to Washington, D.C., where Fred was the director of the American Museum of Natural History. He was an expert on the anatomy of birds. The family later moved to Brooklyn, New York, where Fred worked as the curator-in-chief at the Brooklyn Museum.
Basically now it's just the bonding part. The hard part's kind of done. So this will be tricky to get it up high and so forth. So just for now, while I get this mixed, so we put lead wedge in as a cushion because these stones, as they've been cut, and even a new stone, don't always have the most pure surfaces in terms of how level they are, how smooth they might be. They might have chipped, and lead is very malleable. So by having lead in there, it'll cushion some of the weight because it'll crush. It'll crush down, and we need to create a space between these two so that all of our epoxy doesn't squeeze out. If it squeezes out, well, then we have a problem because now we've lost all of our bonding agent.
Right.
One of the biggest challenges this region has is black mold on the headstones. This is what you're seeing here. It's embedded inside the pores of the stone, and it's really hard to clean, and it will take probably a year or more to get to a white marble state that you would expect to see. So until then, it's going to be dirty.
stone there. Spray.
Cleaning a white marble headstone like this is a delicate process. You can see Katie using a plastic scraper here. The plastic's going to be a lot softer than the stone itself. She uses lots and lots and lots of water, a soft bristle brush, and a biocide that's made for this purpose. We don't expect to get this clean in the first take. We expect it to clean up in months and a year ahead. It's probably not until late next summer when this would brighten up and actually look more like a white marble headstone.
They're identical stones, except hers, you can tell that this shield is just a little more proud than his. There's just a little bit more depth to it, but it has the same identical notches here, here. So all this is, they're both pure white marble stones. This is biological, that's biological,
Right.
This is all biological. What you're seeing
The
here
scratches are just
is erosion. So within a stone, especially marble, there's different components that are going to be harder and softer. And so hers is a little bit newer, 1911
right.
versus 78. You can actually see this on Susan B. Anthony stone as well. So originally, this would have been a high polished stone. So you remember on these mating surfaces, you saw how smooth those were?
Yes.
That's what the whole thing would have been like. So instead of this kind of rough presentation that we have here, or how this inscription is starting to fade, it would have been polished to a high gloss finish, just like we saw on those mating surfaces. And then over time, through environmental factors, you have erosion, you have small granules that'll leave. But these lines here is essentially just harder stone. And so that will stay there, so it'll create that veining effect.